All right. Hi, and everyone. Welcome to part two of the 2026 planning session. I'm looking forward to spending about 20 to 30 minutes with you today. We have a few of our community members, it looks like, coming in. I'm going to let Candy come on in, and we are going to get started with our planning in just a few minutes. So, hey, Candy, welcome. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining
I
today. Are you ready to get
Hi.
planning?
I am.
You
I
are
am.
phenomenal. So fantastic. Well, we may have a few more people dropping in. I am just going to say this is a part two. So I don't know if you had a chance to look at Vision 2026. It's out on our YouTube channel. You don't have
Okay.
to have it, but just know that that's a 40-minute call that you can always dive into.
Okay. So I
Have
will check that out
check
after
that out
this.
after the fact, but really we can do planning without it. So there's a couple of things that I think people will want to have on hand. So number one, you may have a copy, Flow Flex Scale. This is the 365-day planner. You got yours. Love it. Love it. For those that might not have it, you can find a copy of this in our Potentials Realized store for download. I personally went to Staples, got mine bound with the cover, and that'll do me for next year because what I was finding, and this is sort of very similar to the ones I've been using for 20 plus years, by the end of the year, it gets pretty dog-eared. And the pieces that were missing for me as we flip into this, we've got Angela coming in as well, so I'll probably repeat a little bit. But there are some quarterly pages here throughout. So there's a Q4 integration. There's some notes pages that you may want to use actually in today's session because I have some prompts, some more prompts for us. Hey, Angela, welcome. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. I know you were here last time. Candy wasn't, so I was just saying the Vision 2026 is something that people will want to take a look at, maybe build on to. I don't know. You were here a few weeks ago, so what was the value of going through that 2026 planning session, Angela?
Um, I don't, I was here last week when we talked more about the somatic
Oh,
coaching.
right, we did somatic. You weren't with me on the vision, so sorry to put you on the spot. Yeah. But I would say to both of you, this is a 40-minute facilitated sort of reflection prompt. So you'll actually be able to listen to it over at our YouTube channel. It's called Vision 2026. And it will take you into like the high level macro goals of your year. You haven't done it yet, and that's fine because I've got a few prompts to get us started. So, what we're going to do today is really work on setting up our planner from both a macro view and a micro view. And, um, some people might be doing this on their phone or their computer. That's fine. Everyone has their own planning system. I brought a couple of other resources that some of you might have on your bookshelf. So this is also a reminder. You may have a copy of Plan Do Track or Coaching Business Builder. These came out in 2017, 2018. They're actually annual, quarterly, and monthly planners. So what was always missing from the family was the annual planner, which is where Flow Flex Scale comes in. And what I have found, and probably even more today than ever, just taking that time every week to do a bit of a pause, reflect, reset, so critical. So, as we think about today, I'm going to keep today's call at about 25 more minutes after this. What do you hope to walk away with? Because that's going to help me frame this. So, Candy, what will make this a valuable use of your time as it relates to planning?
Just to get things started.
Get things.
Get things um yeah, I this year is a completely different direction for me. Before I just let things happen. Now I need to be more of the instigator, the get out there more sort of thing.
Mhm.
So um just starting, just, like I always say to my clients, you don't have to have all the answers when you start. You just need to start.
Just need
And
to
that's where
start.
I am.
Yeah. And that's a really apropos sort of mindset for today. Just start. We still have another 5 weeks left of the year. Some people might be finding this, at the beginning of the year, a month into the year. It's never too late to start planning. That's what I like to say. But just, think about what time in your world is going to work well. 15 minutes can make a huge amount of difference. And we'll take about 25 today. So Angela, how about you? What is going to be a valuable take forward from this time today?
Organization of all my ideas. I find I have, I really need organization. And then that's what it is because I have a lot of networks. I have a lot of people I can tap into and
Mm,
structures. However, I want to do it all at once and then I get immobilized with the overwhelm.
yeah.
So I am really excited about using this and then really just being that I sit down in the morning and I've kind of had some ideas. I need to have a goal of one engagement a day or these sorts of
Yes.
things. So
Yeah.
for me, it's just really um, helping me contain the overwhelm, putting structure to it.
Yeah. And I think really with the Flow Flex skill, I know you've got a copy of this as well. There's several layers. So as I was saying to Candy, just as you were coming in, there are these quarterly reflection sheets with a blank page across from the quarter, which I'd actually recommend if you want to keep everything in one book. You might use these blank pages today across from the quarter. Because what we're going to do in this next 45 minutes, or sorry, 25 minutes, is really get into our helicopters and go to that 30,000 foot view. Look at the year from the landscape of like, what's that big picture roadmap? And so some of this is going to be sketch. I would say, one of the reasons why I wanted to create a planner like this is just like sketch it out, put down whatever comes to mind. You can come back and refine this, but have it in one area. We're then going to go from this roadmap, big picture view, into jumping into our quarters. And then out of those quarters, you're probably going to have some monthly goals. And you'll notice there are monthly planner pages. So you're got a page for January. You might know dates already. You might also have some just initial ideas, and the page beside January gives you that blank space to be writing down maybe your top 5 goals as it stands today. For those that want to keep going, you can go into the actual weeks of the month and really start putting in, what are those key dates that you might know you're on holidays or things like that. So, to avoid the overwhelm right now, we're going to be going and doing this in chunks, starting with what do you want to put on your 2026 roadmap? So again, I'd invite you, you can use a separate journal, or you may just want to use that one page across from the Q4 integration quarterly review, which is literally page 3 of your booklet. So I'm going to start the timer because what I do know to work really well, and I'm just going to stop the share so I can bring up the timer. What does tend to work quite well is having some time windows on these. So our question is, I'll put it back in a minute, is what are the elements of your roadmap for 2026? Draw a roadmap. What do you want to put on it as you think about maybe the start, the midpoint, the end? Where do you want 2026 to take you? And I'm giving us about 3 minutes. We'll check in 3 minutes, see if you want a little bit more time. But just start sketching out what you want your 2026 year to look like. All right. So just checking in, how was that amount of time? Was it enough? Do you want a little bit more?
Um, I think I'm good.
Think you're good? Yeah. How about you, Angela? Are you good with the big picture?
I'm good with the big picture.
Okay. Have you both thought about your big projects for the year?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. So let us then, I'm going to move us into getting you to take 2 minutes to write out like what are your big 2026 goals? And you might take a look at some of these words here as well. See if there's an intersect for you in addition. In terms of the FlowFlex Scale Planner, you're going to notice that every day there's space there for your top three priorities. Our brain can only hold so many pieces of information. So if you turn to one of the weekly planning pages, you're going to notice a couple of things. Every day has top three priorities. Doesn't mean that you're not going to have more than top three. There is also space for you to take some weekly notes, wins for the weeks, and space for next week as well. We're going to be, for Candy and those that are in the FlowFlex Scale Lab, we do this Monday morning planning session where we actually go through a facilitated weekly planner that is going to give you a bit more space so that you have clarity on the bigger picture. I think before we dive into quarterly looks, I want to know what are your 2026 goals. So we'll take 2 minutes to spell those out. Again, you might want to continue on that same page that you're working on depending on how you like to work, and this is where we do see a variety, you might be thinking your goals in terms of revenue, programs, visibility, marketing. I'm just going to give us a couple of minutes to really anchor those, which is going to make it easier as we get into a quarterly look. Sounds good? All
Yes.
right. So, what are your 2026 goals? All right. How about now thinking about your different quarters? Let's really move into a quarterly frame again. I think most of us as entrepreneurs are already thinking about this, but Q1 being January, February, March, Q2 being April, May, June, Q3, July, August, September, and Q4, October, November, December. So I've got a little bit of time for us to zoom into sort of those first, second, third, fourth quarters as you think about your big goals. Maybe there's revenue goals, maybe there's visibility goals, maybe there's something around uh, I don't know, there could be a lot of things. What are some of the buckets that you've got? I've got programs, I've got finances, I've got content. Those are some of my main buckets every year. And content also being books, right? I really am seeing probably the release of two nonfiction books next year, and I have two fiction books actually that are in front of fiction publishers. So we'll see about those. How about you, Angela? What are some of your buckets? Just broad strokes. Is it programs? What do you have?
Um, I teach mental health first aid. I'd like to see myself bringing that into higher ed, like really, and just one, it's a pretty, I have a newsletter. I've written one newsletter. I'd really like to have a marketing plan for how am I going to use this for engagement and how am I going to structure it. That's really something I'm struggling with.
Mhm.
Um, and just how to bring my presentations that I do and leverage them that then can become group coaching services instead of just these presentations. So
Yeah.
those are really three big things for me to go from just presenting to then how can I work with groups or individuals in coaching.
Yeah. So I'm hearing there's a planning piece. There's probably like a conversion piece. What are you offering to help with movement from, oh, attend the session to now let's have an ongoing relationship and how do I package my services? Absolutely. How about you,
Mhm.
Candy? What are some of your big goal buckets?
Yeah, increasing visibility.
Mhm.
Um, actually, it's funny. I just said to a girlfriend this morning, I feel like I've been behind the scenes for about 5 years,
Ooh.
and and now it's like, okay, I got to get back out to, you know, uh, chamber meetings. I got to get out to women in business
Mhm.
functions. I need to, I want to get back out there and start to establish being a SME in workplace wellness.
Yeah.
So that building content, also building relationships, marketing plans. Um, I have people that I need to reach out to um, and talk to. So yeah, my Q1 is more about building the visibility, kind of almost research what's the appetite,
Mm,
um, and also education. So I'm finishing my um, certification in burnout. So
mhm.
that'll hopefully it is something that people are looking for. So
Absolutely. Well, here's what I'd love to propose if it's useful to take, with those macro goals in mind, to take about 2.5 minutes in each of these quarters to think about what are those big anchors, what are those milestones you also want to be aiming towards. So, uh, I'm going to give us 2.5 minutes. You can continue writing on that same page. You could grab another page, whatever's going to be useful, but really get specific with those buckets in mind. What will success in Q1, those first 3 months of the years look like in your different goal areas? Make them smart, as we'd say, and make sure they're exciting, right? We also want to add an E on the end of smart. All right, so that's Q1. Let's think about Q2. And with this one, you may want to flip a little further back in your planner so that you do get to the beginning of or end of March, really. Again, you'll see at the end of March a Q1 flow review with another new page beside that. As you think about those big buckets, what will Q2 success look like? And get as specific as you can within the major focus areas for that period of April, May, June 2026. So April, May, June. And again, after the March, if you have the FlowFlex scale, you'll see a Q1 flow review. And beside it, some paper there or blank sheet to really put down your Q2 goals. All right. What did you notice with that? Was it easy? Was it hard as you got into the year?
A little easier, I think, because I was already on a roll with what I wanted to do in the first quarter to continue on into the second.
Yeah, I find by the time I get to that April, May, June, like if my habits are established, it can make it so much easier to roll in. And I'd also say there really is a seasonal rhythm in my business. I see that with coaching clients,
Mm.
right? Like teams, especially. I know when I get to third quarter, very little teamwork, but a lot of group work, right? So be noticing seasonal variation as we go through this as well. Anything you want to note, Angela, as you did Q2?
No, it did seem kind of like once you get the momentum again, it's just like you have to kind of clarify it for Q1, so that you can get moving for quarter two. So no, I agree with what you guys were saying.
Yeah. And again, this is something that you'll want to come back and revisit, right? It's not a one and done. This is a living, breathing plan. So let's drive into third quarter, which again, you're looking at July, August, September, maybe taking some time off, maybe doing some retreat work. Who knows? Think about what your third quarter can look like. All right, I'm going to move us to Q4. So flip back further again. Q4, you're going to find a few sections back. Q4, we're looking at just after September. So covering October, November, December. Think about these last few months and maybe some of those big rocks. What do you want to put down for your Q4 focus? All right, so that's about half an hour, 25 minutes of planning. Let's give ourselves, though, another 2.5 minute block because there might be, and I'm just guessing, there might be some dates that you want to go in and make sure that you schedule off holidays, time away. Maybe you're doing some traveling. I'm just going to give us another 2.5 minutes to flip through the year and to note anything that's perhaps special about different weeks, different months. So, one thing you may or may not have noticed, there are monthly planning pages, and there is space on the bottom of them to note your top priorities. So, we won't take time to do that today. It maybe is part of your quarterly planning process. I know at this start of the year, I like to get sort of my big focus in, and then each quarter I'll do a bit of a review as we go. But my hope is that today you're leaving with a bit more of clarity on what's on your 2026 timeline. We took about half an hour to go through this process. So just notice what was valuable, what's still left to do, but at least you've cracked the spine of a new planner. And I think that's always important. So as we go to close, what was most valuable for taking time for your plans for 2026?
I find
Just get
really just really putting it down. I've always been someone who journals, so that's like been very cathartic for me. So for to write this down helps me get it out, right? And organize. And when I feel I have a structure to it, and that's just my personality, um, it allows me to move forward in a way that I can kind of compartmentalize. Okay, we're going to focus on this. So for me, it really is in the writing it down.
Yeah. I recently posted something on, I think LinkedIn about the art of writing and how important it is with that. Like it's a memorability issue. And in today's era of AI, if we're using a lot of AI tools, which I know I use, my clients use, but I'm not retaining it the same way as if I write it down. So it's an interesting dichotomy of like I'm very analog in some respects, but I'm also very digital in other respects. But for my personal planning, business planning, if I don't see it, I don't do it, right? It's just not real. And I need to write it down. I need to not just see it from a computer, I physically need to write it down. So great. And how about you, Candy? What was valuable about this for you?
really just taking, like you said, a 30,000-foot view and then going, okay, what are the big things? And then how do we break this down? So, it's not rocket science, but when you start with this is where I want to be, it's sometimes overwhelming. And if you come back and you look at it and you go, okay, these are some things, how do I start to crack that? So,
Yeah. And I would encourage when you have time, go and take a look at that Vision 2026. There might be some elements that fall out of that, right? But now you've got
mhm.
a bit of a spine in each of these four windows of the year. And like for you, Candy, you'll be with us at the lab, so you're going to get Mondays where you can look back every Monday and say, "Oh, what are my goals this quarter?" Start distilling them down because they're still pretty big until we really get in those weeks and those days and those reflections. So thank you both.
Great.
Jennifer,
Thanks.
can you tell me where do we find if we want to go watch the Vision 2026, which of your
Where will it be? So let me just take us all over there right now. I'll stop my share. It's right over on YouTube. And if you haven't been to our YouTube channel, so let me just share this screen. It's Effective Group Coach is the titling of my handle. And let's see if Zoom will let me share my screen. We'll go over here. So YouTube is going to come up. Well, not yet, but just in a moment. You can see my Canva homepage. So youtube.com/effective group coach. And that will take you here. It might look a little different than my dashboard, so just give it a sec to
sure.
come up. And right now, it should be showing up near the top. So you'll see a lot of writing sprints because we're just wrapping that up. This is it here, setting your 2026 vision. And it was recorded 2 weeks ago today on November 11th, 2025. So typically you can do that. If you still can't find it, navigate in the actual channel and you can go to this little search bar here and just go 2026 vision and that will pop it up right there. Sounds good?
Awesome. Thank you.
Perfect.
Awesome. All right. Well, thanks for joining us and hope to see you again soon.
Okay.
Alrighty.
We'll
Have a
see you
good
soon.
one. See
All
ya.
right. Bye-bye.
Bye.